everybody. Welcome to the Paranormal Connection. I'm your host, Donna Wilberg. Well, tonight we are so happy to be talking about love and the stars with astrologer Barbara YBarra. Hi, Barbara.
Hello.
So good to have you on the show.
I'm very glad to be here. Thank you.
Now, Barbara and I worked on a panel once before, and Barbara's just filled with information, so I'm so happy to have her on our show.
Thank you.
Let's start out talking a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a professional astrologer. I graduated from the Noel Till Master's Course in Astrology. I am currently tutoring a person privately. I hold consultations with people individually. I have a family with grandchildren, so I do spend a lot of time with them. So I'm pretty low profile right now, and that's okay with me. But I love astrology, and I'm very happy to share some ideas here.
Well, how did you get interested in astrology?
I have a love for it, and I'm so glad we're talking about love, because love between two people or more is awesome, but we also love things. We love ideas, concepts, and I do love astrology so much. When I was in the 4th grade, which is usually the time that kids will learn about the solar system and create a solar system at home, it's part of their homework, I just realized that I had a deep feeling about planets that wasn't being taught to me. And so I did bring in today my little show and tell thing here, because I had a book at home also that had planets in it that also told the myths, the Greek myths that went with the planets. And as soon as I read that, it resonated so deeply inside of me, even at just that young age. And I knew that the planets were not just out there, they were within myself as well. And I just knew it. And there was no one I could talk to about it. But I started loving the planets, and my parents gave me a globe just like this one. And this is not the one I had, but I bought it on eBay because it was the one, like the one I had, a tin globe. And when I saw it online, I was shocked to see that the planets were down here on the bottom, and I had forgotten that. And when I saw it, I went, oh, it just took my breath away, because I was immediately back into my 10-year-old body, feeling exactly what I felt then and experiencing the flavor of my life at that time. And the reason I bring it up is because when a person has a consultation with an astrologer, sometimes there are things that an astrologer asks about the person because they see it in the chart, and it refers back to patterns and feelings in their childhood. And if the question is just right, that person will do just what I did with these planets. It takes them immediately back into their life in the past, and they suddenly realize they see it. They see what it is that they've been carrying forward all those years into the present. And it may not be a bad thing, but they get to appreciate the fact that that is really in them from the beginning. So I just had to bring that in.
So interesting. It's almost as if you recognize your chart, you just don't know what it's all about yet.
Oh, right. Yeah. I wish everybody had the chance to learn about astrology and look at their own chart.
Well, that's talking about love. That's one of the things women, I don't know about men so much, but one of the things that people want to know about each other when they meet and they start a relationship. You often, what's your sign?
Right.
And a lot of people take that to heart because there's a significance in that. Why don't you tell us about that?
There is. And unfortunately, people don't realize very often that you don't just have a sun sign. So if you even know a little bit and you say, well, an earth sign doesn't get along with a fire sign, and so that person tells you their sign for their sun, and you say, well, I could never get along with you. Well, guess what? They have a moon sign that is actually representative more of their reigning personality and their reigning needs in their everyday life than the sun is. And that moon sign may be exactly what your sun sign is, even to the degree. So if you feel an attraction to a person, there is something there always. There's definitely something there.
And some relationships happen to work better than some. Is that because they're astrologically compatible?
I would say that's a big factor anyway. At least you can see it that way astrologically. There's other things, of course, because there's a level of maturity, and there's just, what people, the blocks that people have with creating or being in a relationship to begin with. So it might be that your signs are all working together and everything, but both of you or one of you has not gotten to the point where a relationship is viable for you. Between a man and a woman, traditionally, you would say that the woman's sign that Venus is in would be something that you would want to connect with the man's Mars sign, because we have, obviously, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, kind of a thing, and that is the male aggression. We all have aggression in us, but if the male and the female have those two connecting in a very powerful way, there's going to be a strong sexual attraction. Now, there's a lot of ways, though, that people will connect. So not everybody's going to have that kind of zing. Even married people may be together for different other reasons. It might be commitment. It might be children. It might be intellectual things that they're pursuing together.
So when we meet someone and we refer to them as our soulmate, is that because the blueprints of both people are pretty evenly yoked, that there's a real good working relationship, the journeys are kind of the same, everything is kind of working synchronistically, or
right, especially between the sun and the moon signs, because those are our main energy sources. However, it could be any planet, and yes, if something's really tight between two people, especially that same exact degree that one person's planet is in and the other person's planet is in that same exact degree. Myself and my husband, for instance, I have my Mars on the same exact degree as his Jupiter, and Jupiter is exploration and journeying, and Mars is a lot of energy too. So when we first met, what we wanted to do first off was go on an adventure, and we still do, because it's the spot where we connect the tightest. So anytime you have a connection like that in the charts between two people, that's a point of greatest contact for those two people. Sometimes it's called being a soulmate, especially if there's some deep feeling involved with it. If it's a water sign, then people are going to be very emotional about it. So they might say something like, yes, he's my soulmate, or she's my soulmate.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, let's talk about the stars, because there's a lot of relationships that are very prominent out there right now, and you had some views on some of the celebrities and what they're up to, and what's going on with them.
Stars.
The Hollywood stars. The other stars.
They're all stars.
So we had talked about some of the more prominent couples.
Right. Right. Well, the one in terms of love, the two people that come to my mind right now are Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. He just bought her a big, beautiful diamond ring, which apparently I heard he worked on for a whole year, designed it himself. It was really something special for her, a very romantic gesture for her. And so I looked in their charts, and what I saw was not so much marriage coming up when we have these astrological indicators, suggestions that we see when marriage occurs. They probably will get married, but what I saw was romance rather than commitment. And I think what is happening for them is that they a long time ago made the commitment to each other. And they've been together for a while. I'm not sure how long, but they've been sticking together all this time. So I think the commitment was already there. And this gesture from him was a very romantic thing for him to do. And I'm sure the wedding will be just this hugely romantic thing for the both of them.
I didn't know they weren't married.
Yeah, I didn't either until recently,
They
and
have all
that's
these
why I
kids
went
together.
that's why I went and looked, yeah, to see, and I always thought, well, they have all those kids, they won't break up, but that wasn't the case with Mia Farrow and Woody Allen. They had a lot of adopted children too, and they split up. So I mean, when you have all that money, you can split up. It's not a problem. So I think it's a real commitment between the two of them. And when you see in their chart, when you look at them, the two charts, if you're an astrologer and you want to see what it is that connects the both of them, if you wanted to, somebody could say, well, an astrologer might say, well, it looks to me like Angelina is his arm candy. Because that's what the astrology says in a way, but it's a very, very shallow interpretation. What it really is saying that her beauty, her grace, her presence, everything that she contributes when she's on stage or modeling or anything else she does in front of the camera is making him feel so loved and so validated for the fact that she's with him, that you got to call that love. It's not just arm candy, but that's the astrology between them.
He's not so bad either.
No, no, he isn't. I totally admit that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, do you get a lot of people that come in and want to know about the love aspect in their charts? Is that a real important thing for a lot of people?
Yeah, yeah, and there's a lot to that. It's very frustrating too, as an astrologer, to have a lady come in to me and say, "Is my husband having an affair?"
You can tell that through a chart?
Well, they're hoping you can.
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Along here somewhere it says there's an infidelity factor in there because of what planet? What would that have to do with anything?
Oh, well, there might be some indication that there is some problem in the marriage, in the relationship. There definitely could be that. It wouldn't say that he was having an affair, because regardless of whether the relationship was falling apart or not, he could still be faithful to her. So all I would be able to say to her was, I don't see anything that's causing, problems in the marriage. Why are you concerned? And then maybe I find out that she's just feeling sad or desperate or something about herself. It's not really about her husband at all. So, and then the other thing that will happen, people will come in and they'll say, when am I going to meet Mr. Right? When will he come into my life? And I find over and over and over again that the greatest hits on those kinds of things in a person's chart will happen early on in life. The strongest, the deepest ones, the surest ones. They just do. I mean, there might be a case where, when you're 50 or something, there is another. And of course, we always can find someone. But for some reason, over and over again, you see it at 25 and 30. I think maybe it's just the natural way or something of people. It's your time to find that person. They're out there.
So when you're charting, what kind of information are you looking for? What kind of information comes up that you're able to give people? Because you had mentioned your childhood. From your birth, you go forward, and what kind of information are the planets? What kind of information do they provide?
It will, yeah. Oh, yeah. It will suggest to an astrologer whether a person is going to have some difficulties in any relationship, and that should be addressed, by the person early on in life, hopefully. But how are they going to know? And usually it's coincides with difficulties in the home life between the parents, that so they didn't have any role models. And so this thinking, this mindset that is interfering with a really healthy relationship is present, and it's in the chart. It's there. I mean, we come in probably from other incarnations ready to experience this and to get through it. So it's not that it's not redeemable, or not that, you certainly can figure it out and move on. But you have to know what it is. You can't keep, ignoring it. So, people get married, 2, 3, and 4 times, and every time it's the same problem. They're either hiding something, or there's an anger issue, and it's always, it's always the other person's fault, and, things like that. And it's very, very helpful to sit down with an astrologer and talk about what happened in the early home. How did you feel? Do you see how that resembles what you feel now? And then people wake up and they go, oh, I see what I'm doing. I did just what my dad did. Or I married my mother, I married the woman that was like her and I hated her,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't, I've had readings before, but I don't remember them being that personal.
Oh, yeah. They're only really beneficial if they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have had people not expecting it too. I try to, let them know exactly what kind of a thing it is when they come in for a consultation. But I have had times when people, if I'm working in a shop or something and it's an impromptu reading, and they'll say something like, well, oh, I didn't know you were going to ask about my childhood. And I don't force anybody to talk about something they don't want to talk about. I just ask questions that may get them to start thinking a little bit.
I imagine if you did it a whole family, you would probably be able to be very enlightening to the parents as to what kind of children they can expect from their charts, and what kind of relationship the kids can expect with their parents from their charts.
Right.
Have you ever?
Yeah, even babies. I haven't. Yeah, I haven't done very many consultations or readings for very young children, and you have to be sensitive to the fact that they haven't lived their life yet, and also you have to be understanding that the parents don't want to hear, well, it looks like you're going to be controlling this child too much. You can't say that.
Yeah.
What you have to present it as is, this child has these needs. This child has a need to develop their own control, so be careful. So if a person is too controlling, they're going to back off a little bit and give that child a little bit of room to grow and establish themselves.
Now, is that because of their sun sign, moon sign, that they're naturally by nature, by their sign, they're a controlling type person?
Not usually by sign, although sometimes that can be in there. Scorpio, for instance, is a sign that can be have the need to take control and to be, dominant somehow. Capricorn wants structure, needs structure so badly that they won't be happy without it. So they're going to set things up the way they want to, or that they need to. But no, not usually. It's usually a dynamic between two planets, and there are ones that are more important than others. Say, for instance, Saturn, which is the representative of the father figure in the home. If there's an issue, if there's a Saturn issue that's blocking the sun energy, so that you're not feeling really good about your own life force, then probably it's a suggestion of the father in the early home obstructing that feeling, somehow denying the child the respect because the father doesn't have respect for himself, say. So he's passing that along to the child.
Sounds like a whole lot of psychology that
it is
that goes into this.
Yeah, quite a few years ago, I sent out letters to all of the psychologists I could find in the Auburn area. Wrote up this letter saying, here's what I do. I would love to hold a class with however many psychologists would like to come and hear this on what astrology can do for you in the therapy, in your sessions. Because although astrology does take a while to learn, there are a few basics that could be learned in a few weeks, maybe, for the therapist, for family counseling, to say, here's the chart, and do you see what's going on here, And instead of, bringing people in and asking 100 questions and then saying, oh, I see what's the dynamic in your family. If you had looked at the chart, you would have known. You would have seen it.
Well, just for example, my daughter is a Taurus on a Gemini cusp. And we always kid her about, being being the bull with a schizophrenic bull, actually.
Oh, no, it's a bull with a writing pen.
Because, she's very moody.
Right.
And where I have another Taurus who's at the beginning of the month who's more like Ferdinand the Bull. She's just happy-go-lucky and loves everything.
Right. Yeah, so there's so many other things things going on in the chart than just the sun, it would be hard to, hearing just that
Right.
right away. I'm like, well, let me see that. Get my book out. I'll tell you.
Well, we all page through the horoscopes. I look up Jonathan Kaner just about every time I need an answer for something, because I love his insight into who I am. And there's something about having just that little bit of information. You feel like somebody knows you. And an astrologer,
that's nice. I like that.
it's like you have the key to who we are, who we are meant to be.
Right.
So I'd love to hear more about how you, as an astrologer, kind of give that information to people, and what goes into doing a reading.
Well, first I thank the person for coming and explain a little bit about what I do, just saying that your chart is like a blueprint, and that we will be discussing some things that I see in your chart. And one thing I don't do is I would not use any astrologies, so I won't use any names of planets or signs unless they ask me to, because some people have studied a bit, so they want to know. So it's not about this planet's here, I'm not going to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
So I'm talking right from the beginning about the dynamics that are suggested in the chart. And I always use the word suggested because how that plays out in their life could be a little different from what I'm thinking. And I don't want to say, well, you look like a person who is very artistic, although that's a wonderful thing to say, but you can just guess what else I might have, might be saying to someone, and I really, sometimes want to say to a person, wow, all your life you've been dealing with this anger, but I cannot say it that way at all.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon we have a discussion going about what kinds of things that they see within themselves and that they have been dealing with all of their life, and what to do with it.
Wow.
Because there's always the positive side of it.
Yeah.
Always. The people who have the most anger are the ones who can do the most to help someone else. It's always can be turned around.
Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time, Barbara, and we're going to be doing another part. So I hope everybody is loving this information as much as I am, because we are going to be doing a part 2 with Barbara, but we're going to be talking about a little different topic. But right now, you want to give your information to the viewers out there, please?
A phone number. I don't have a website right now because I am being very low key. I am on Facebook, and it's a picture of me. My name is Barbara YBarra. My phone number is 530-210-6292. Phone me anytime. I have an email address that please email me with any questions, and it's earthsigns, EARTHSIGNS at rocketmail.com. Very long.
Isn't that wonderful? I mean, that's so appropriate.
I know.
I saw your email address. I thought, oh my God, how could you get any more perfect with, what you do? Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Paranormal Connection. Paranormal Connection airs the first and third Thursday of the month, alternating with our companion show, Paranormal Insights, that airs the second and fourth Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, following Ancient Wisdom. You can watch us online at accesssacramento.org. Click on Watch 17. You can contact me at paranormalconnectiontv@gmail.com. And you can catch all our information about our guests and the people that are coming up on paranormalconnectiontv.blogspot.com. Super. So we've got a couple more minutes. You had done a little bit of looking into my chart.
I did.
Can you give us a little insight in 2 minutes?
I'm not sure I can cram it in. You have an extreme connection with the cosmic side of things. I mean, you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't, but I was very surprised to see it. And aside from that, you actually have a huge love connection. You there was a suggestion of it. You would love to be always talking about love.
I love that.
and to be helping others discover and communicate more with each other about what love is, in a very universal sense. You just need to embrace the whole idea of it, and I think you do already.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting to know. You go through your life thinking that you're following this path, and then somebody tells you that, validates it for you, and it's just wonderful. Well, we're running out of time, so I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your information, and I hope everybody will stay tuned to the second part, because we're going to be talking about the Mayan calendar and the way all the planets are getting together on this. And I'd like to also thank the crew for coming out. We've got a volunteer crew that comes out, Lisa and Greg. We have Maya and Robert and Tony. And I'm so grateful to have you guys, because without you, we wouldn't have the show. So God bless everybody. And is there anything that you'd like to say before we go?
Well, I'll say God bless everybody too then.
Alrighty.
I don't want to be left out of that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody.